And then once you know who your target audience is, you're in a position to evaluate, how you can stand out among your peers and competitors. So really thinking about, what's the same about you and what separates you. And let me give you an example of this on the next slide. So what's Target known for?
Well, I would say they're a department store, but they've got kind of a bit more upgraded sense of design.
Right, exactly. So, all of these, Target, Walmart, Kmart, these big box stores, right, they all operate in the same space. Target is known for design, right, cheap chic, if you will, right? Walmart, what's Walmart known for?
Walmart focuses a lot on price.
Right. It's part of their tagline, right? You can see it right there. And what's Kmart known for?
That one I could not tell you because I just think of financial troubles.
Right. So nobody knows, right, what Kmart is known for. And so Target's doing well, Walmart's doing well, and Kmart is struggling, right, because they are not clearly differentiated among their competitors, right, and they're certainly not expressing that differentiation.
Sure.
So there's an exercise on the next slide, and you can find this in the Career Distinction Workbook that I told you about earlier. The same different exercise. So once you go through the branding process and get the information from 360 Reach, you're able to really just do column A, column B. What's the same, what's different, and really focus in on these differentiating factors and utilize those in your marketing communications. So on the next slide, what we're trying to do at the end of the brand discovery process, at the end of Extract, is synthesize all of these pieces of the puzzle, if you will, down into a one-sentence personal brand statement. So you use the most salient points, and when you're working on the exercises around passions and strengths and values and purposes and goals, what you really find is that there are themes that are emerging, and you want to come up with a one-sentence personal brand statement, and this statement will ultimately serve as the guide for your personal brand. It's going to help you to understand, whether I'm on brand or off brand, right? Is this the right client for me? Is this the right partner for me? Is this moving me toward my goals, right? Should I say yes to this speaking gig? So it really serves as the guide, and it becomes a basis for your marketing communications. You might not say your brand statement as you write it. It's really just a guide just for you, but some version of your brand statement will ultimately become your 30-second elevator pitch. It might become, be integrated in your tagline. It might be the first sentence of your bio, and so forth. So on the next page, there's sort of a process for how you arrive at this one-sentence personal brand statement. So in Career Distinction, there's an example of a brand profile. And a brand profile is really nothing other than a one-page summary of your brand. It's a list of all the summarized exercises that you've done. So you're listing your vision, your purpose, your values, your passions, your goals, your brand attributes, your target audience, your strengths. And then your brand statement would be at the bottom of that. So you're really using all of these pieces to write your brand statement. And you want to post, this brand summary, your brand statement, somewhere where you can really refer to it regularly. So it really can serve as this tangible guide for all of your branding efforts. And on the next slide, I have an example of a brand statement. And you can see at the bottom of the slide in red some brand attributes like funny, team-focused, sarcastic, likable. So for this particular person, these are, her emotional brand attributes. And you can see how those brand attributes are expressed in her brand statement. And you can come up with these emotional brand attributes, and the words, of course, that you select ultimately are very, very important. The English language has, many, synonyms with nuances of meanings, right? And so go to the source and really find the exact right words for you, after you do 360 Reach. So this one, in working collaboratively with designers, I write witty, pithy, timely, and compelling copy for marketing materials for B2B companies. So, it's how she works, it's, how it's different, what she does, and for whom, right? So you've got the target audience in there. So brand expression. So this is, we've come up with, our personal brand, right? And the next step is to get it out there. On the next slide, one of the things that I always love to start with when I work with clients in defining their brands, before we really get into the express phase of the process, is to write the brand bio. And so what's the difference between a regular bio and a brand bio? Well, I'm sure that you guys have all read bios that are absolutely dry and boring, and typically when they're boring, they're a laundry list of credentials, right? They're really all about those rational brand attributes, right? It's the table stakes they get in your game. I have this degree and this many years of experience and blah, 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 right? And a brand bio really builds on all of that, the essentials of all of that, and really is a way of injecting your personality, telling a story, making an emotional connection with your target audience. And it's just a heck of a lot more fun and interesting to read. And when you write the brand bio, you can use it as is on your blog's about page, right? That's typically a place where you can have a nice long bio, and certainly can make it more web-friendly by using subheads and so forth. And then, you might have different versions of this brand bio. So you might have a more succinct version, maybe in the first person for your LinkedIn profile, and other online profiles. You might have another version for speaking, and a really super short version for Twitter and Facebook. So really starting your brand bio really helps you to be able to tell this story about, you and really how you are the right person to work with your target audience. So on the next slide, I have an example of just the first couple of paragraphs of a brand bio for one of my clients. And this example is actually in our book, and it's still, after several years, it's one of my favorite bios, because it really does tell a story. So I'm just going to read this really quickly. Rob Francisco, principal of Francisco Financial, helps top life insurance producers achieve their professional goals by creatively distilling complex concepts into streamlined and profitable business solutions. So right away, you know exactly who he works with, right? A coffee fan who enjoys roasting his own coffee beans, Rob became dissatisfied with how inconsistently other members of his household made the morning brew. He wanted to express to them how to grind the beans for a consistently enjoyable coffee experience. So one morning, his household awoke to find a sign that he had placed next to the coffee maker. It simply read, "Respect the bean," which, by the way, became the name of his blog. From that day forward, the caffeinated mantra became sort of a guiding philosophy for Rob. Constantly brimming with ideas for businesses, everything that Rob does relates to his desire to maintain authenticity. Whether it is connecting other independent business professionals with the resources that they need to make their visions a reality, streamlining complex business processes, or championing the concept of the digital office, Rob has a passion for ensuring that the valuable essence of ideas aren't lost in the execution. And it goes on with more coffee terminology throughout. So really that comes from, conversations, telling the story and really using your own language, in the bio, not making it dry, writing it the way that you speak really makes a lot of difference. So on the next slide, we really talk about the ilities, and it's important to keep the ilities in mind when you are communicating your personal brand. So essentially what you're trying to do is build visibility for your brand at the same time as building your credibility.